Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Brian Drake. We are taking a look today at 3 different expansions for the game of Everdell. So we're foregoing the question of the day because I usually ask a question of the day about how you prefer your expansion style. Well, these 3 expansions do a little bit of something different for each type of expansion type, if that makes any sense. What I'm saying is tonight we're covering Pearlbrook from Everdell, we're covering Spirecrest, and we're also covering Belfair. So let's dive in. What makes these 3 tick? See what we think, if you should get 1, 2, 3, 2, whatever, of these expansions right now. So this is the setup for Pearlbrook. You're going to take the pearls over here. Everyone's going to get the ambassador in their color. Notice these spaces here that have amphibian looking spaces. Those are for the ambassador figures. Your normal workers can't go there, your ambassadors can. You shuffle up 2 of the characters and 2 of the locations from the pearls and you lay them out here. You don't look at them until they've been visited, and a pearl goes on top of each. When the person wants to visit it the first time, you'll have to pay the cost, or at least have the cost listed on the board right here. So in order to turn this card over, you'd have to have these in your city. That's the basic extras that come with Pearlbrook, besides the fact that everyone gets 2 adornment cards. These are things that you can unlock later in the game to give you a boost, as well as, instead of playing with basic events, you play with these nice 3D objects that are goals at the end of the game. They're worth a lot more points to get, but they're not very easy to get. You notice what you have to have points-wise to get them at the end of the game, or to get them. To unlock them, you have to pay all of those resources, but I mean, they're worth 20, 25 points for some of these. So the number one thing I love about Spirecrest is these giant, big ride-along meeples here. These are all sorts of different animals here. We got mooses, rhinos, peacocks, I'm pretty sure. All kinds of great stuff. But the whole point of this is, or it could be a seal, who knows? The point of this is these are parts of the new Spirecrest board here. The Spirecrest adds on to the bottom of the board, and it basically makes it where you're going on an adventure, which will essentially boost things during your game or cause potential problems. Like this is a blizzard, so it actually hurts you. So when your characters are down here in the blizzard section of the board, sorry, on the winter section of the board, you have to kind of play with that detriment. Or sometimes it'll be a boost when you get to spring, summer, and then of course fall over there. But you also have these adventure cards. These are things that are going to potentially boost your adventure as well. It's where you get the big extra ride-on meeples, as well as some other objects. When you get to this area, when you prepare for a season, you're going to flip over 3 of the cards for each section that you're in. So if you're in this section, you'll flip over 3 cards. This one is free if you want it. This one either costs a card or a resource. That one costs 2 cards or 2 resources to get, but they're all good. So obviously you're going to want to get these cards. You're also going to take one of these map tokens, which are going to stack up, and at the end of the game you have a chance to cash in all the resources on your maps to make your rabbit go on the adventure. And hopefully the more points you get is based on how far you go on this adventure. So this one is worth 3 points if you pay 3 wood. So at the end of the game, if you've got those stockpiled up, you can pay the wood and then whatever else these other ones are. But that is basically what Spirecrest and Pearlbrook add to the game. So this is the aftermath of Pearlbrook and Spirecrest played together. I know it recommends you don't do that, but I absolutely don't see a reason not to. And yes, that is a cardinal riding on a warthog and a lizard riding on a moose over there. So a lot of table space taken up by both of these together. We didn't play Belfair with these, we played Belfair separately, but I absolutely see no reason why you couldn't just throw all 3 together. So inside of Belfair, you get a new board topper that you can essentially replace the tree with if you choose to. You can put the cards above it or off to the side. But this is where you put your extra meeples and things like that. It adds the Flower Festival and the market. The market is really the major change in this besides the player powers. The market, basically you put these market tokens on here that look like this. If they are on top here, you take the action and take the resources that are there. So that first one would be 3 wood and a card, then 2 berries and 2 cards, 2 resin, 2 cards, and 1 pebble and 3 cards. If you take them, they then move down here to the trade section. If you want to take the action now, you would then spend 3 wood and a card. You spend what you would get up here to gain 3 coins and 2 resources. This is really handy if you have this with Pearlbrook because you need to spend those coins quite a lot of times. That's the major change there. You also get the Flower Festival event, which is basically have one of each color card, and it's a basic event. And then you also have the banners that look like this. These are basically just different end of game goals that are based on having the most types of cards and the most types of things. Tourism, most critters, most constructions and things like that. Just another way to gain points at the end of the game. So again, no reason not to combine Belfair with the other ones. You also get player boards, which are nice. They're all differently detailed with each different area of the map. A lot of different cool looking things left to right. You can play left-handed or right-handed. Places to put your workers, your resources. The best part is it's your choice. You can put them wherever you want. There's a nice beach one. And then last but not least, you get these player power cards, which the player power cards are all based on the different races. And if you didn't know this, all 15 colors that you have in your Everdell game are in fact all not just different colors or different shapes, but they're all different things. You have your cardinals, your lizards, your mice. Everything gives you a different player power based on who you're playing. Now, obviously, someone might say, well, I don't have the lizards. Can I still play this game? I mean, you just use the card with a different shaped meeple. I mean, Carla was playing the cardinals with the otters earlier. But looks nice, right? So the cardinals have the scout ability, increase your hand limit by 2. Anytime you get to draw any number of cards, you can draw an additional card for the deck. So really nice player powers that change kind of the uniqueness of your character. So that is what Belfair offers right there. So those are the 3 expansions for Everdell right there. We got Pearlbrook, Belfair, and Spirecrest. Now, as far as the expansions go, let's break them apart individually first, okay? Let's take a look at the most easy one, because the number one question, obviously I mentioned it a second ago, is in the rule book it says don't mix these expansions because they add a lot of complexity. I say throw that rule to the wind. If you're like us, we play pretty heavy games, but I mean, even if you combine all of these expansions, you're not playing Venios or what's the one, the crazy one, the big, really difficult one of Vital Lacerda. You know what I'm talking about. It's named based on the city in Portugal. Lisboa. It's not like that kind of complexity. It's complex-ish, but everything meshes and works really well. I mean, plus the board looks really great when everything's built out together. So let's start from the top. Belfair. Belfair is a system of modules more so than a full-blown expansion. Yes, there's a couple things like the Flower Festival or the Banner Festival thing at the top of the pageantry. But really and truly, it's a system of modules. Do you want to do player powers? Do you want to have, this or this? Do you want to have a market board up there? So it's not a ton of different things that really add just a lot to the game. It's more so a little bit more of the original, plus those player powers are nice. Plus, hey, here's a player board you can use. So Belfair, I recommend you get Belfair just to add some spice to the game with the player powers alone. I really like that. But the player boards are nice too. It's nice to just have a little place to put your cards and everything. But we're not talking about total game altering playing here. We're adding another basic event as well as one more end of game scoring method. So Belfair, it's a pretty much the same as regular Everdell. If you're going to play Everdell by itself and you're not big into like game altering expansions, this is the one you're going to hands down get and play every time because it doesn't change the game that much. The only thing you might not like though is if you use the Belfair board, you don't use the big tree. You may like that a lot, actually. So, coming up next is Pearlbrook. This one actually came out earlier than the other two, but Pearlbrook adds this whole sideboard, and you are sending your frogs out as emissaries to these locations and these 2 creatures who can help you by giving you pearls. Plus, it adds something I really like. Again, all of this is about adding ways to score points, and we're going to definitely get to that in Spirecrest, but what I like about Pearlbrook is this idea that you do get the sideboard, but it's not something that's going to pull your attention too much. A lot of times when you get a worker placement game expansion that has a sideboard, you start thinking about, well, this new set of options means I don't really know how to focus on, do I take my workers that I normally spend here in a game like this and put them over there? Now you have a worker that is specifically made to go to these new options. So you don't have to worry about spending your amount of workers. You can only do it once anyway. You can go to the shoal or you can go to the different actions that are over there for the locations with the creatures, the emissary locations, the underwater locations. What I do like is the wonders. You have a 10, a 15, a 20, and a 25-point wonder. Those are fantastic. You get those by trading in wood or twigs, resin, pebbles, and pearls. And they're worth quite a few points and some cards. But also, the pearls can be used to buy your adornments. You get 2 adornments dealt to you at the beginning of the game. You can spend a pearl to buy those abilities. One is a one-time thing. It happens when you buy it. The other one is a persistent thing that happens at the end of the game. So it's just more to make your game unique. Now again, the biggest issue that a lot of people have with Everdell in the first place is the randomness, the fact that there are so many ways for the cards to just come up. This is another aspect of that, but at least you're anchoring it with some solid open information of those wonders. And again, wonders being 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 points, it's really nice. Especially if you can combo your adornments to get you those more expensive wonders, which is what happens kind of easily actually. So that's Pearlbrook in a nutshell. It adds a sideboard with a special worker that you can only go to with that worker. I like that. It's not too complex. Definitely all day you can add Belfaire and Pearlbrook. There's no reason not to. Now, let's talk the third one. Spirecrest. I really like what this does because you're adding a little bit more point salad-y things to this game. A game that already has a ton of ways to get points gets even more points because you can focus on the bottom board providing you 8 to 10 points at the end of the game. But the powers themselves that come from those different cards, whether it be a big critter, which is, let's just face it, it's awesome to see a lizard riding the back of a peacock anyway, but the big critters are nice, but there are a lot of other things that come out that are just really useful buildings. I had one of the buildings in the last game we played where you can discard X number of cards, and for each card you discard, you can buy a building or play a card for minus X the cost. So it's just really cool player powers. And one of them hits 6 points. One of the cities was 6 points, and it's minus 1 point per type of paw building. Mine didn't have any paw buildings, so it was just flat 6 points. Plus, I really like the fact that you're trekking through and getting those maps, and if you're the first one there, well, you've got first dibs at the better map choices than that last round of the game. Instead of going, well, I really can't do much, I'll just go get a twig or a berry. You can actually plan your game for the last couple turns to play towards your map, play towards your journey. So I really like that aspect of it as well. The only thing that's tricky is that if those weather cards come up all negative like that, and they're pretty bad combos, that can hurt you back to back to back by, hey, this is now you lose a resource, or these cost more resources. So it's tricky with that, but I do like the variety. Now, that's all three of them individually. So Belfaire, definitely pick up. Pearlbrook, the weakest on its own in my opinion, but just by itself, it's good. But if you're going to play it, if you say, like, well, I can only afford one of these expansions, it's not the one to go and get. My money goes to Spirecrest if you're going to pay for just one. However, if you're going to go out and get all three of these, and I highly recommend you do, throw the idea of you can't combine these to the wind. First of all, it looks amazing, and second of all, it's not that complex to combine everything. It just really isn't, and the game feels much more full that way. And I have a hypothesis, honestly. I have no proof, no evidence for this at all, but I feel like the game was originally designed with Pearlbrook and Spirecrest and Belfaire together in mind. And then when they went to production, they were, we got to pare down and edit, right? Editing is always more important than people take advantage of, or people think. But I feel like the original intent was to put those pieces in the game because, and again, this is just an absolute, testament to the design. If they weren't, it feels like they were because it feels so natural. The things you do with Spirecrest and Pearlbrook don't feel like, oh, I got to change gears and do this Spirecrest type actions, or whoa, my mind's got to be in the Pearlbrook world now. No, it's just, this is the world of Everdell, and you are diving in so much more of a deeper way with all these different options and abilities that you can now do, and it flows very cohesive. So I know it says don't do it in the rule book, but I highly recommend, other than the table space, good Lord, this is a table hog now, but I highly recommend you play all three of these expansions together. And you can let me know in the comments below if you found any combos that don't work. So far, we haven't seen it. The only thing I didn't do is I did take the legendary creatures out. I feel like that might just overpower it a little bit, but honestly, there's no reason why you couldn't do that. I just feel like Everdell is meant to be played as this humongous piece. It's a very lightweight to midweight worker placement game, and having these elements swirl around it tips it into that midweight range, which is just something that the game, in my opinion, for my taste, needed anyway. So having Spirecrest, Pearlbrook, and Belfaire is a 100% win for me. Go and pick up these expansions and play them all together. Really good, really fun, looks great on the board. Let's talk one more thing as far as presentation. This is one of the best looking games. It doesn't get enough credit. It's one of the best looking games out there because every single card back matches up on the board where it's supposed to go. So the cards that come in Spirecrest,
There are two different size cards. They all match up on a path, on the mountains or the flats or the creeks. It all just matches. Pearlbrook's the same way. Everything just lines up perfectly on the boards. It's very aesthetically pleasing to look at Everdell on the table. All three of them set up together. So that is my review of the Everdell expansions. Go pick these games up. They're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to play. Really fun, easy to get people to sit down and play it. Not hard to teach. So I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Well, YouTube's right here. You're watching it. But all the other ones, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas, for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.